Julio with Aries Moon, and after the previous episode, I want to talk about um, Aries and Mars as how people become associated with Epstein lists. And I'll begin with myself because it's very difficult to say I had the privilege to say no to the Epstein list because I was consecutively tortured and and the attempts to I can't even say the attempts to unalive him because the energy harvest were so severe for so many years, and um, but I can definitely see the junctures where when people don't have, let's say, a place that is routine for them without raping or being raped, then there is nothing to sustain their sense of self in the face of that. And when the sense of belonging is dependent on, and their very survival, their housing, their businesses are being looted through these type of things, then those are the places where people become associated or could run into. So for me, for example, I have every second house, which is house of skill. It's also the house where we buy things. And actually, when I bought certain talismans, then the um, the name of the business people, let's say, um, were mentioned through that company, and for that company, for one it was the 10th house, and for other it was for the founder it was the 6th, and then it was like the name of the company. Um, and I have Mars in the 9th house, which means something international, and indeed through academia, and there were attempts to religiousify. I'm like the most secular person on earth. I'm not a heretic, but I'm a secular person, and this is exactly the kind of, Ketu in Sagittarius, non-attachment to religion or spirituality. And um, and I tended to political assassination prevention. So through assassination prevention, basically, there would be the names that would be associated with the names. Some of the cases, if not all of them that I tended to, probably are on the full list. And if I say probably, it's because that information was already leaked. I would have no access to that information if it wasn't, but it's kind of like structurally, I have a Saturn in the 9th house, so structurally, this is why I've taken, I drew away from academia, or I drew away from certain little international communities like the astrology community. It wasn't by my choice so much, but because I said no too. So Aries or Mars in the 1st house, these will be the people that would be directly, unless clouded by Neptune or Pluto, these would be the people that would be the heads of. Okay? But because of the nature of such structures, they would be mind controlled as well. So Aries ascendant to lesser degree Sun or Moon, and or Mars in the 1st house, it's kind of like that's that name on that list. Aries in the second house. Somebody bought something from someone. Oh, I was, let's say before I was at the gap where I was, if I was targeted by buying something, then I don't assume that the people that profit off of me purchasing, let's say, their talisman, are set. And if they do target their clients, it's because they're probably being so severely tortured and extorted, um, that even for them, it's already good to talk about that. Because that's like the way out of them being tortured, and the only way that they could ever have a business that is not a trafficking business, um, or an energy siphoning business that eventually will loot the people that run it. So second house can be the skill of something. For example, Mark Dutroux had ascendant Scorpio. And that was the name that came. um, Donald Trump has Mars next to his ascendant. Yeah, certain people have Scorpio or Aries in the 10th. So that would be through their career or through their profession or through their career environment, because the 10th house can also be the environment. For example, for me, Aries is second house and Mars in the 9th. And one of the comments I heard about me was, only a clone could interpret the Pope. After I did an astrological interpretation of the chart of Pope Leo, but I did not take it to the heart. It was like, hey, because I understood why structurally somebody would say that. I just didn't think that my channel has anywhere near enough reach for anybody to be thinking that. Um, Third house is the business or the podcast. And third house um, can be Aries, Scorpio, or Sun, Moon, or Ascendant. It can also be through siblings. Fourth house is through, how should I say that? It can be somebody's parent or somebody when they become a parent. Also 10th house. Combination of that and let's say the 6th or the 10th or the 2nd can be somebody's real estate or the name of the estate. Somebody's 5th house. That can be through acquaintances or lovers, through their children. And by the way, 4th house and 10th house could be through the parent. And 5th house can also be through their hobbies. Aries, Scorpio, or Mars in the 6th. That can literally be through somebody's vocation, much like the 2nd house, except that would be a vocation that is in service of. So if somebody could be a social worker, for example, and have their name on the list. Oh, fifth house is also through children. I mean, children in the sense that it's like through the children. Yeah. For example, Mark Dutroux have ascended Scorpio and Mars in Pisces, and through the children that were escaping or were smuggled out of the Dutroux states, he was exposed. Um, yeah. People are like, Shirley, do you have colleagues on Epstein list? I believe I do, yes. Um, um, seventh house is through the partner or business partner, open enemy. For example, I don't remember Ghislaine Maxwell's chart or Epstein's chart, but they would probably have something like a seven house combination. Or being the partner of. It can now seven house can also be something as simple as the neighbor in front of you, the door that is in front of one's door. So people can also consider that it could be people staying at the dorms, and the person they were that was leaving the door in front of them was an Epsteiner. Um, eighth house, Aries Mars, Scorpio, or Sun Moon and ascendant, Sun or Moon or ascendant in Aries and Scorpio. That could be through something somebody's invested in. I just saw a name on the list today that was invested in a Dutch company called Endemol, and that company appeared on the Epstein list. It could also be through an accountant. Um, so with the eighth house, one would really have to check what's their 401k doing, what's their passive income doing, which I warned 2-3 years ago. I say, hey, Virgo ascendants should be checking their eighth house. They should be checking what they're invested in. Um, and also, um, what would be, there would be Aries ascendants that would have Scorpio in the eighth, right? Yeah. Scorpio in the eighth in particular, one's savings could be funneled through a. Now, if it's something that's happening like a government saving stuff, um, the smaller the person, like the smaller the person in the corporation, the smaller the problem. Okay, because let's say I'm a civilian, um, and let's say that there is money sitting somewhere that I don't even know how to have transparency regarding, and it's probably not anywhere near enough to buy me even a cup of coffee. Something that was left from something that I was an employee and so on and so forth. I don't know what that money is doing, but I'm a civilian. If it was my life insurance and I would count on retiring on that money, then I would need to deeper look into that, because right now it's kind of like, well, I don't have money to retire. Okay, at least I know that, because the people that are invested in things don't know. People who are invested in Palantir um, wouldn't have an idea that one sudden day the civil services in Netherlands, the civil pension would withdraw its investments from Palantir. One sudden day Buffett would withdraw his investment from the Gates Foundation, where the Gates Foundation is litigated for the vaccine of COVID. Okay, These are the, and I warned about these bubbles. When I warned about these bubbles, people were smug. But the same people that were smug would say, yeah, of course, if a woman cheats, then she should be murdered, when usually it's not even the woman that cheated, but whatever. I'm not saying that women can't cheat, but the situations that they are talking about are not when the woman cheated. Um, Ninth house, through somebody's teachers or somebody's teachings. For example, I have Mars in the ninth house, Scorpio ninth house, and I have this teaching about, oh, how would the name of somebody come up on the Epstein list? For example, one of the teachings that I shared here was, how do they manufacture, let's say, an Epstein or a Detru? Um, 10th house, somebody's career, reputation of somebody's being a parent, somebody's career environment. Um, this is a place where having Scorpio or Aries in the 10th house simply means that one's career environment entitles being a member of a Peter Ring. It's kind of like, this is one of the difficult placements, because when a person is successful, they have to be affiliated with those type of networks. Now, I have Ketu in the 10th. It's non-attachment towards career. It's also in Sag, but people have, let's say, Rao in the 10th. They could be the ones doing the litigations because they don't want to have to be affiliated with a Peter Ring to have a career. Eleventh house, goals and dreams, social networks, very literally so. The ruler of Mark Dutroux Mars is in Virgo in the 11th house, Jupiter. Jupiter around Al-Qaeda. The destruction of cities. In that case, the destruction of public housing too. He was born into such a house. He was born like the Melissas that were smuggled out. But he wasn't smuggled out. And this is also why a month ago, Detru, they found a pedophilia materia at Detru's cell phone or something, and something is supposed to be a maximum security prison. Why? Because the full list was coming up. Um, with Gates, we saw there's no immunity to those things. And that's the point. Now, oh, Article 5 was late to be invoked. Okay, whose name suddenly on the list? The guys invested in Endemol. That's at least as per AI. And AI shows documents, so um, so 11th house is literally the networks that one is affiliated with. Melissa's father, I don't know his chart, but I would expect to see something in the 11th, because Melissa's father did not want to hear about no network when Mark Dutroux was eager to give out names. Twelfth house, Joe Biden. Joe Biden has a stellium in Scorpio. In his 12th house, he was one of the heads of the committees of MK Ultra. MK Ultra and Jeffrey Epstein is Mengeles twins. People that have placements in the 12th house to do with Aries, Scorpio, Mars, these are the people whose name is missing. But these are also the people um, that can experience a fall from grace or even imprisonment in regarding to those lists. It can also be the ruler of these houses in Mars, in Aries, Scorpio, and so on and so forth. And it can also be the people that were the victims of this list, because this list go by victimizing people and then offering them to become one of the network. Um, 12th house can also have to do with hotels, um, and jails and hospitals. So 12th house, somebody could be tortured at hospital. But the 12th house could also be the people that are the torturers at the jails and at the hospitals. Also the watchers and the psychics and stuff. For example, I have Saturn in Scorpio ruling over the 11th and the 12th. And I was the first astrologer to talk about MK often, basically saying, I don't know which of my colleagues is a member, and I don't know which of them are trying to alleviate people being targeted or trying to help. Like, people could be secretly trying to help and could be secretly trying to do the opposite. Um, and of course, 12th house is the bedroom, and this is also how people could become um, affiliated, or people could run into. And MK often is a project that does, they try to do, like if somebody is having astral encounters, they're trying to reach people through the astral, or they were also doing astral rape, or what people call spiritual warfare. Now, because those are extortions, cult, then the people who were astrally raping are not as cloaked as they think they are. For example, if I would be astrally raped and somebody else would be astrally raped, a third person that was probably also tortured could take on my energy to harm that person, and that person's energy to harm me. And um, this is when I talked about what's done underneath gloved hand gets caught in the act or gets caught red-handed. That's what I meant. Like, I won't see it, that other person won't see it. The people that were getting that person to do that would see it, because they would track to see that they managed to effectively get a person to be doing those things. And if they can get them to be smug about getting away with, then those are also 12th house things. By the way, Hades is where somebody could reach. Hades house, which is the second house, is how somebody could reach one's um, One's physical through the astral. And I have Aries in the second house, and I was basically facing attacks towards me. Um, for years, I was like, what is the astrology of astral? What is the astrology of the astral plane? I was like, okay, that's 12th house. But it was like, oh, second house is the house of hate. Um, yeah, why am I looking at this chart? I don't know. Chiron was 22 in back then. It just saved this chart. It was a stellium in Aquarius. Rahu and Ketu were 11 degree. Jupiter was 18. Lilith just ingressed to Sag. Um, Now, through synastries, people's Mars coming through to their chart is how somebody could bring um, those issues to them. Oh wait, when it comes to okay, so let's say somebody has Mars is someone's first house, or Mars is someone's ninth house, or somebody's Mars is brought to someone's seventh house. Yep, still Jupiter hour, ascendant around Beta Persei. And of course, Mars rules action. So it can simply be very literal with somebody's actions get them to somebody's actions are named and their name are named for the actions. Now with Beta per se, because when they rape they do energy siphoning, then usually the rapist would be kind of having the glory and the raped would not. That's why the Me Too surprised everyone, because Uranus was with Aries and suddenly the people that spoke were believed. But Aries was also the disincluded people, so the people that weren't believed that the Me Too dropped the Peter ring now. What do we need to remember about the Epstein files? First of all, the way they create a sex offender is by torturing them to no sense of self and through mind control. Um, and the people that are on that list are the children nobody came to save. But then, as I addressed in the previous episode, to not become that child that nobody came to save and begins to harm other children because they're no longer in their sense of self, we also need to abolish these practices. Do I know how? I don't know. I'm putting these videos out there in hope that those practices will be abolished.